Welcome to Transformation with Martine. Conquer everything and compromise nothing. This show brings you real, raw, and vulnerable conversations. If you have never liked small talk and have been on a personal growth journey for a long time, stay tuned as Martine and her guests share empowering stories. Now is the time to own your past and look toward your future with hope. Believe in your dreams, and all that you want to achieve is possible. Transformation Coach Martine helps you accept and love you for you. It's time to listen to your heart and tap into your unlimited potential. You have the answers you need inside. Sometimes you just need the right guide to help allow transformation to happen. Transformation with Martine starts now.
Welcome to Transformation with Martine, where we conquer everything and compromise nothing. Happy Friday, everyone. And I hope everyone had a fantastic Christmas, and we are going into the new years, and I'm excited. I decided a few years ago when one of my colleagues, said that she took her birthday, which for mine is October, and her new year is October to October, or whatever her month was. I don't remember at the time. So it's still exciting going into a brand new year, but I kind of already started mine just a little bit ago. So all that's exciting. But Happy New Year for everybody. And I hope that you make it a spectacular time. And today is it's really cool. I was just telling my friend, my colleague, my coach, we've been together for a long time, and we did a show together 2 years ago for New Year's. So I know she's like, really? It was a year? No, it's actually two. I checked in my book. I keep track of everything, and it's on my YouTube, all that. But yeah, it was 2 years ago that we did a New Year's Eve show. Welcome, Michelle Moore.
Wow, that's wild. Yes, I'm so excited to be here and to be
Thank
here
you.
right at the beginning of
Yeah.
the brand new calendar year. And I really like the idea of checking in on your birthday. I wouldn't
Yeah.
say personally I do that with any kind of intention, but
Mhm.
I mean, I think that's one of the concepts that gets us a little bit twisted with like New Year anything,
Mhm.
right? Is
Yeah.
that we think it has to be in a certain time frame, right?
Right.
Like it has to be this, and if I miss it here, I can never. Now I'm just screwed, right? Until
Right.
2025, and that's
Yeah.
not like that's actually just not true. Like we have the ability and flexibility to start a brand new year for ourselves on any given day.
Yeah, and every day is a new day. Every week we have a new week. And, a lot of people hate Mondays, and I don't. And it's not just being an entrepreneur with my own schedule. I don't. I've always kind of like, okay, this is a new start,
Yeah,
fresh new week. Let's go.
I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Are you somebody like, have you heard, or do you or like, what are your feelings of the phrase new year, new you?
You know, I like kind of what you were just saying. I don't think it has to be a new year. I think that we can change anything anytime. And as Michelle, actually, for those of you out there listening and watching, that we were just talking about how we can like change things at any time. We might, as we get older, especially 40s, 50s, going in there, that something that was really great before may not feel so great anymore. Maybe we don't want to do that anymore. And all of that is okay. We can make a decision that or pivot. We made a decision yesterday, and today it's like, you know what? I don't like that. And we can check in, as Michelle has taught me, it's like you can kind of check in with yourself, like, is this something like, am I just afraid to step in? Or is this something I just don't want? Maybe I'm stepping in because, hey, it's great money. Maybe I'm stepping in because I should be, and I made the decision to. But now it's like, it doesn't feel right anymore. It's okay to do that. What do you think, Michelle?
Yeah. I don't I think not only is it okay,
Mhm.
like it's mandatory, it's necessary. We have to do whatever we need in order to be able to
Mhm.
give ourselves that permission to be flexible and to
Yeah.
change and to pivot if something isn't working for us.
Mhm.
We have to cultivate, if we don't already have it, that
Mhm.
resiliency, right? Like that ability to
Yeah.
be able to test something, you know, and see it more, you know, as an experiment, right? Like
Mhm.
more like playing, more like, oh, I'm going to
Yeah.
try this thing
Mhm.
versus I have to make this thing in this work in this
Yeah.
way, right? In this structure work 100% no matter what.
Yeah.
It would be like, it would be almost like saying, I want to take a trip and I want to come and see you, right? And I want to
Right.
get from where I am up to where you live. And
Mhm.
I plan out a route and I have an intention of where to get
Mhm.
there. But
Yeah.
if I'm so committed to every detail of the trip, then I might run into traffic. I might run into an accident. I might run into
Right.
something I want to see and veer off the highway. So I have to give myself like set an intention, but have
Mhm.
that flexibility to be able to change because from where
Yeah.
I am right now, there's 100 million infinite,
Mhm.
that's the word, an infinite number of things that could happen between me and getting to you. And I think
Yeah.
for us to realize the same thing is actually happening in our life experience with the changes we want to make and the things
Mhm.
we want to step into. So yes.
Yeah. 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 I agree with that. And it feels so much better when we give ourselves that grace.
Mhm.
And in relationships, I don't know if it's the same for you, you and Amanda, but a lot of times, my husband, Eric, he'll be just something like, but you said we're going to go do it like this. And I know. And today it doesn't feel that way. And that could be just that we made plans the next day, we're going to go have Mexican food. Well, today I don't feel like it. My
Absolutely.
belly feels heavy or whatever. I don't want to.
Right.
And I'm not trying to be a pain in the butt or any of that. I don't want to. I don't want to. And that's okay too. He has a huge trouble with that. Does your wife or do you worry about that in relationships? Like,
Yeah, it doesn't, for me, it doesn't come up. My wife is really flexible and
mhm,
very fluid with things
uh-huh,
like that. I think it
yeah,
was hard for me for a lot of years
hmm,
to just give myself that permission
right,
because of, you know, I was somebody who definitely, especially years ago, right, was more in the pattern of putting pressure on myself and creating like
hmm,
detailed plans or mapping out my goals or resolutions, you know,
hmm,
for the new year. And I would put more pressure on myself. And I didn't actually have the flexibility or
hmm,
the resilience to be able to allow things to change. That was a lot harder for me. That kind of stuff
yeah,
felt very stressful and
hmm,
anxious. I had a lot of external control that
hmm,
I wanted to be able to like influence. So anything that would come up would be more disruptive for me. So
hmm,
that was something I had to learn how to do to be able to give myself the permission to change and let
yeah,
that be okay.
yeah, yeah. I get that in myself. But and in relationship, I just kind of like, well, whatever repercussions or whatever flat comes my way, that's okay too. That's
Yeah.
really not mine.
Mhm.
And it's getting easier over the years, but I used to just feel like just this pressure, hip area, all that, you know that about me. But I used to just feel a lot of pressure, like, okay, I'm doing wrong, I'm causing trouble, I'm this or I'm that. And now it's kind of like, yeah, I still feel those things sometimes, but not to the degree. Like I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just honoring myself. And I'm sorry this doesn't work for you, but we'll try to find a way that works for both of us. It's hard. It's hard.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
thing, you know, one of the things that I really truly believe is that change takes time. And
Hmm.
and it's not, you know, it's not something that's super just easy and like 1, 2, 3, and we can just snap our fingers and the
Yeah.
things that we actually need in order to be able to go from being like, you know, really tight or really tense about something to be able to
Mm.
creating a little bit more resiliency like you were talking about. Because it doesn't go
Yeah.
from like, I don't do this at all to I'm, you know, I'm totally good and relaxed about it. Right. So we have to
Hmm.
have patience with ourselves, right?
Hmm.
Patience with others, just
Yep.
recognizing that when we're changing, that's also shifting the dynamics, especially inside of a relationship. intimate relationship, friendships, professional relationships, right? Like we gotta have patience and having realistic expectations, like, is important. And I don't say like, change is hard or creating change is really hard, like to be like, oh, it's horrible, right? But like, it's just the understanding it's not boop, boop. And so if it doesn't happen for you that fast, you're not doing anything bad or wrong. You're not a failure, you didn't mess up. We also need encouragement. We need connection. We need like leadership. We need compassion. And I think we need honesty. Just as we go through the journey, all within our own self and with others.
Yeah. That patience and compassion is a big thing. And I hope that all of us, all of you out there listening, it's so important to have patience with yourself. My gosh, most of us have patience with children and with others and, elderly people even, but not so much ourselves. And when you can start to learn that, your world can really shift. I know one of the things at least pops in my head when I say this, like, had you and I not done that work, not only on the eating disorder I had, but actually on the eating disorder, to learn to love myself, to have patience with myself, and actually be able to like stuff my face with pumpkin bread before getting on the show and not freaking out about it. That like I would not have done okay when I got diagnosed with vitiligo. That I liked myself by then. It's like, I don't understand what's going on and I don't like what's happening, but I still like me. And that's so important. Patience.
Absolutely. Especially when, like it all the time. And especially when you're going through something. Right. So like it's not only just like all the time, like especially when it was hot, like you're going through something, your body was experiencing something, or maybe it's a hard time in somebody's life or just a hectic season, personally, professionally, any of those things. In those moments to really recognize, oh, there is a lot going on and this is hard. Let me give myself the gift that I would so generously give somebody else.
It really is. It changes your world when you can learn to do that. And at least for me, I don't always get it right. I get mad at myself, technology challenge, or just things that come up, but not to the degree I used to.
I think it's less about the thing happening and more about the way in which we interact with and respond to what's happening. Oh, thank you. We're going to take a short break, everyone, and we'll be right back. Thank you so much for tuning in. My guest today is Michelle Moore, and we've been talking about patience of self, and giving ourselves the option of pivoting if something that we chose to do is no longer working. So we left off with just having patience of ourselves no matter what is going on. And she and I were talking a little bit before we started the show about moving at lightning speed. I've become very aware of myself these days. And sometimes I just think, what the heck are you doing? I will be, whether it's like rushing to just, get in the shower, dry off real quick, put clothes on and quickly get myself. And I'm like, you do have a little time. You actually can not race to put both legs. I mean, you can just like easily, carefully put your clothes on. You don't have to rush. If you want to take the time to put lotion on, it's okay. And you can actually sit and have lunch. You don't have to sit at your desk working. You actually can take some time. And Michelle, I know you found yourself, not as much now, you've done some work there, but I know that you were in that spot for a while too. Yeah. I mean, I completely relate to it. I think not everybody does, which is totally fine, but there are a lot of people that I think we're just not, I don't think that any of this is conscious, but I don't think in those moments, we're not actually like present in our body. We're like trying to get somewhere because we think there is something for us wherever it is that we think that we're going. if that makes sense. It's like, oh, if I get all these things done, then I can relax, then I can sit down, then I can have a break, then I can feel good, then I can whatever. I also think for some of us, it becomes, and this has been me definitely at different times in my life, it just becomes automated where we're not really present, but like the whole system is just running at the speed that it's just been running. I think you said such an important word, which is just start to become aware. You know, this is not, if this is a thing that, like a pattern for you that you are operating inside of, the first thing you just want to do is just start to notice it. Not even start to change it, right? Like not even try to change it, not even, just because we observe something doesn't mean we have to do anything about it. But when we're moving really quickly, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I don't like moving quickly. How do I slow down? And then we're like moving quickly about slowing down, right? Is that relatable? Right? Then it's like, we kind of, then I think, and this is something I've totally done, and I see a lot of the clients that I work with actually do this because we're in personal development. Is that we can like start to use personal development to beat ourselves up, because it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not journaling, I'm not walking enough, I'm not spending time in nature, I'm not meditating, I'm not deep breathing, I don't have a coach, I haven't right, and we just like use all of that when we're in that space. So if you're doing any of that, like, you know, right here, yay, us too.
Exactly.
And also just starting to like name it, speak it out, start to bring your attention to it. Just that alone can make a huge, huge difference, because then you're actually using your presence to notice what's happening. And that can start, right, to just kind of bring you like back into the moment. If that feels hard for you, just pick one time out of the day that works for you, and just take a moment and just check in. And just notice, notice for me, especially early on, you know, and if any of this doesn't resonate, that's okay. Like there's many different ways to go about this. And this is just my experience from my lived experience. But just your heart and your breathing are two great places to just kind of notice, like, is my heart beating really, really fast? Right? How deep is my breath? If you can answer this, like if you can assess this, just check in. How stressed am I right now? Like just at this moment, right? What's my stress level? 1 to 10, 10 being high, 1 being low, right? And then you'll start to be bringing your awareness, and you don't have to do anything with that. Like you don't have to like make that I have to fix this, like none of that. Just notice. I would start with that for however long you need or want, a week, a couple weeks, like let yourself like recognize, like sustainable change takes time. If you have like a goal or a target or something you're trying to do in like 1 to 3 months, that's different. Like there's similar qualities, but that's different than like, oh, I want to actually shift this like behavior pattern or this like conditioned response that I have, or this stress. I want to lower my stress level, things like that are sustainable. Like we gotta like this, you're not going to clear this up by like, you know, January 31st, right? Like this is
you wish, but
right. Listen, me too. I get it, especially once I understand something. I'm like, oh, I got it. But it just, stuff takes time. Healing takes time, right? Like it just, the more that we can remind ourselves of that, and then start slowly, just like you were saying, we can, there's, you know, more steps beyond that, but just at the very beginning, that can be wildly impactful, even just one time a day, just to check in, check your breath, your heart rate, and or your stress level.
And just it's like that permission, you know, checking your stress level, checking those things, and just like, you know, even just telling yourself it's okay, you're doing okay, it's okay,
100%. Absolutely. And it's okay, whatever it is. So
Mhm.
let's just say 10 being high, you were at a 10. Okay,
Right.
that's cool. Like, it's okay, just like you
Mhm.
said,
Yeah.
because it is what it is, right?
Right.
And we have to have acceptance, and compassion is another word we used earlier, for
Yes.
where we are at this moment
Mhm.
before we go to try to change anything.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, if they're honest, I know this is true for me, we don't do that. We just go right to the, I have to be better, I have to do this has to change, right? We try to make that the primary focus, and we skip over being like, hey, where am I right now and what's actually going on? And then
Mhm.
with that affirmation and acknowledgement, then we can ask ourselves, is this serving me?
Mhm.
Right? Is this breath, is this stress level, right? Is all of this serving me for what I'm doing right now? Just right now in this moment. Can we use you as
Yes.
an example? Could you share?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? You said that you felt that love, that stress right
Mhm.
before getting on the show.
Yeah.
If you had to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10 before the show, what number would you say you were
Probably
at?
8. About
Cool.
8. Mhm.
And so then in that moment, like, awesome, like, that's okay, right? It
Mhm.
is. Right?
It
You can
is.
ask yourself, what am I about to do? And I'm about to go in and have this conversation with Michelle.
Uh-huh.
Is an 8 the level of stress? Like, do I want to bring that? Is that going to serve me in this space?
Mhm. Yeah, what I thought of is, hey, I love you and have a conversation with you. It's okay no matter how I am. I can do this show no matter how I am because of the comfort level with you and the
Right.
trust of my producer. I just, yeah, it's
I
okay.
love that.
To be a
Yeah.
little less, sure, would have been nice, but I wasn't that. I just knew I was fine no matter where I was at in this regard.
I love that. And just
Yeah.
that statement, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Just that statement, like, oftentimes that that actually does lower the stress, right?
Mhm.
Because we can kind of, ah, okay, I'm okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you don't have that connection and that's not real for you, and you do want to lower your stress, like if that is a decision that you decide to make, then
Mhm.
things like taking a breath, going outside, even for like a 2
Mhm.
or 3 minute walk, right?
Yeah.
Petting a dog, moving your
Yeah.
body in some way, pushing out or up against a wall can help you kind of be able to release some energy to lower. And then you can always check in, because the truth is you
Mhm.
might be going into a situation where that level does serve you. And if that's the
Mhm.
case, keep it,
Yeah.
right? Again, we
Yeah.
don't have to make any changes just because we notice something. It doesn't actually mean that it's right or wrong.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes, yeah, a high level of stress can work for you depending upon what you have going on. And then you can release it later, however, that plays out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 If I was going into a fight, like, I would want to have my adrenaline pumping, and I'd want to be
Yep.
like in that mode, right? Because I want to win,
Mm-hmm.
right? And maybe
Yeah.
it wasn't a fight, maybe it was a competition, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
want to be like in that space, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But if I'm going to just hang out with you, probably for me, not so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But I don't know. Why did I see this picture of like this female MMA fight when you said that? I'm like, so you were doing that actually?
Yes, you're
That
not
would be,
wrong.
yeah. Oh my gosh, that would be kind of, I wouldn't want to do it, but I'd watch. I'd watch. I'd root on too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think not anymore, but there definitely was a
Mhm.
time in my life where I
Yeah.
definitely have seen myself training for something like that.
Yeah.
Not saying
Yeah.
I don't still have it in me, but I don't have the desire.
The desire, that's it. Yeah, yeah. I remember the storytelling speaker training we went to, and
Yeah.
like you kind of performing. I don't remember exactly what it was, but boy, you were into character. Like I
Mhm.
remember that, and that just also popped in my head. Yeah, that was cool. That was
Nice.
a gosh, that was a long time ago.
It was,
Yeah, yeah. So we're going to take a break, everyone, and we'll be back with more fun conversation. And yeah, I'm kind of wondering, Michelle, what your word for if you pick one for next year is. We'll be right back, everyone. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone, to Transformation with Martine, where we conquer everything and compromise nothing. Happy New Year again. My guest today is Michelle Moore, and we are talking about patience with self. New year, new us. We left off talking about maybe picking a word. Some of us do it, some of us don't. Michelle, how about you?
Yeah, I love that you asked that question. No, I don't pick a word. I'm not against it if it works for people, but for me, anytime I'd seen it, it always just felt kind of forced. And I think with stuff like this, for me, it's more about like, what's the intention? And like, so pick a word. Okay. What's the intention of doing that?
Yeah.
Right. And so if I sit with that for my own self, like, and this is just, these are my answers, I think the intention would be to just set like an intention for the next year, something to focus on, like an overall sort of vision or way you want to show up, depending on what the word is. And so I think if that's the intention, like that's the outcome that comes from the word, then I can just be curious about, from my own experience, is there anything that comes up for me with that? Is there anything that I do want to practice in this new year? And so if I answered that question, absolutely. And so for me, that would be more like more me. So what I mean by that is like more curiosity about who I am just right now.
Right.
And right, like more noticing versus forcing myself into something, more like noticing where I'm drawn to, where I'm pulled to, where I want to avoid, right? More noticing the systems or schedules that work for me and don't, more playing with, experimenting with little things like the time of day I eat, when I exercise, when I drink coffee, if I drink coffee at all, just more experimentation, because I spent so much life really, like you were saying, trying to fit into somebody else what I believed was the right thing to do. And I'm just at a place in my life where I actually don't know really what works for me in a lot of areas. I do know in some, but because I never gave myself a chance to discover it. Right. Like I just kind of, and it might be something I'm already doing, but I don't know because I haven't really given myself the flexibility, like I was saying, and the permission to just play and explore and be curious. So that would be more the direction that I go versus like having like that would be how I guess I would say I get to my word, but I don't really wouldn't say that, yes, I have a word, but I guess I do have a focus.
Yeah. That's interesting because I was thinking about somebody from our community. She said her word's going to be lighthouse. And I like that, but that's my brand. Lighthouse back here. I have lighthouses all across the shelf up here. I collect them. It's my brand. I love lighthouse. To me, that's transformation. That is coaching. There's just this world of personal development. So I love that word. Like, that resonates with me, but it's also kind of to what you said, is thinking about different, word or a phrase. Like I've been reading, God, I can't think of the author at the moment. T. Harvey Eker, I think it is, The Millionaire Mind. Yeah. And one of the things, and this book is kind of like The Body Keeps Score to me. I have to read just little bits, absorb, go back, read again, absorb, but one of the things that he has is like, you put your hand on your heart and you say a phrase, and then I have a millionaire mind. And one of the things I have it written down here, it's I create the exact level of my financial success. I create the exact level of my financial success, have a millionaire mind. So I've been working on those kind of things, like not so much a word, but like a phrase that comes in. Or last year's word was surrender. Well, that'll probably come in here a little bit too, because I just want to control things in my life, and I have no control over the things in my life. Very little anyway, right? None of us do.
Sure.
We don't, but I have a hard time surrendering and wanting to just take charge instead of just kind of like, all right, let go, no expectations, just I want this and let it go.
I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, and I think the big thing that comes to me just in listening to you is like it's okay to figure out what is going to work for you. And I think that just biologically, seasonally, for the majority of us, I know not everybody,
Yeah.
but this is a time of year of slowing down, right? This
Yes.
we're inside of winter. We're in it, right? Like it's not, I think a lot of us think of winter as the end of the year, but winter is really like at the beginning of the new year. And so giving ourselves that time and that space to really just slow down a little bit, bring awareness around that, and then bring just a little bit more of the self-reflection in, just a little bit more curiosity and permission, I think, like we were talking about earlier, to just not want the same things that you always said that you wanted, or that you have been or still are working toward. And the new year does offer an opportunity to reflect. It does offer us, and it's okay. Like if you didn't do any of that stuff like in December, like not do it now. It's not too late. It's never too, like Martine was saying, it's never too late. You can do it anytime. You can do it in February, March, April, like whenever. You could sit down today when you're listening to this, like, and just be like, you know what, it's a random Tuesday in May, and I am going to do this now. And you can make that choice at any point in time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the beauty of it, right? Anytime you can make a new decision to do something different. And yeah, it's never too late, no matter how old you are, no matter what you've been through, no matter what, you can do it. And and that's a beautiful thing. Yeah. So when you think about for yourself in this new year, and you have like Michelle is like on these huge platforms. She is amazing coach. It's been so cool. And I know she started before I did in at least in this particular community that we are a part of, and in personal development. I've been in it most of my life, but 2014 is when I really dug in, and she was in before that. So she's on these huge platforms. What would you say, like, I know that you don't like want to go at the speed of 1,000,000 miles like you used to. What is your biggest thing like coming up now, like for your whole being? Like, what is the biggest thing coming up for you going into the new year? Not business really, but just you as a human.
Yeah, it's what I was sharing earlier. Right? It really is. I spent like a significant chunk of my like life experience, to some varying degrees, like really led by just a tremendous amount of shame. And coming on the other side of that in the ways which I have been, I feel like I'm almost in sort of it's not exactly this way, but it kind of reminds me of like a new like child who's sort of getting the sense of their environment, because everything I looked at my life for a long time, Martine, was through the lens of there being something wrong with me. So even when it wasn't super, super deep, if my wife was being short with me,
Mhm.
I would automatically be like, I did something wrong.
Right.
It wouldn't, like, I was so focused on me being the problem that the idea that like somebody could be having a bad day, right? Like, or if you didn't say anything, for example, and I noticed you being a little bit off, I would have been in this conversation being like, is she pissed at me? Did I say something to her? Has she not told me that she's mad? Like, I would, like, the amount of which that was playing in my mind and just echoing to different degrees over the years. But on the other side of that, I feel like I'm like, my head is up and I'm actually able to see things much more clearly because it's not through the fog of me being the problem. And when I believed that, then I believed everybody else had the solution. So I tried to fit myself into other people's morning routines, eating routines, schedule, all this stuff, right? I see you nodding, so I know you relate.
Oh,
And
yeah.
right. And so now I'm just kind of like in this place of just experimenting, really noticing, like,
Yeah.
do I actually like this? And to what you said earlier, it doesn't mean that in the moments where I realize, oh shit, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't get a little bit of anxiety around having the conversation, but overall, like just like that's the place that I'm in, is more just that experiment, playful, let's notice place.
Yeah. 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 I relate so well to all of that. And I'm not as far along as you are, that's for sure. I mean, I still um will worry, not like I did at all, but still at a place where I will worry like, oh crap. Oh, what did I do? Or what happened? Or crap, what do I have to deal with when whoever comes home, right? Whether it's my kids or husband or whatever. Sometimes it's like, oh, shoot. Yeah, it's like a place of I kind of want to run. I don't want to be here. I don't want to deal with this. And how do I fix me? And like you said, it's not generally not you at all. Someone just had a bad day, whether it's your spouse or your kid or whatever it is, they had a bad day and it really nothing to do with you. But it's interesting how that comes about and how it got started. And, for us, and I'll just speak for me, coming from an environment of being in trouble. Even if I didn't do anything, I was the one to blame. So that kind of stays with you as you go about your adult life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. We're going to take a short break, everyone, and we'll be back with some final thoughts and New Year's tips and all that good stuff. See you in a few. Welcome back to the final segment of Transformation with Martine. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as I didn't say in the beginning, for those of you that may not be familiar, every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern is when the show is. And I always invite people on here that have transformational stories, have stories of overcoming and just absolute resilience, which is my friend, colleague, coach, Michelle Moore. She's got all kinds of good stories. And anyway, I honor you for being here today. Thank you so much for making the time for me today. And what would be we've talked about patience of ourselves, how to tune into ourselves, to check in with ourselves, to be aware, or if it's something that you're noticing about yourself, that maybe you are running around like a crazy woman, man, whatever, running around, and maybe just checking in with yourself to see how you're doing, what you may need. You might ask your body what he or she needs, and check in. So what would you say, Michelle? What else are just something we can do in the new year that could help us have a more peaceful, productive, with some surrender in there kind of tips? That was kind of a mouthful.
I like it. Peaceful, productive, with some surrender tips.
Yeah.
I think, just to add one more thing to what we were talking about right before the break. It's just that I don't know that there is like I say, when I say other side, for me, it's just like the other side of what, like that moment or that experience or that intensity. I think certain things are like they're gonna repeat, right? So it goes back to the patience with the process, and the more that we can recognize when something does happen, when we have a moment, like, oh, is it less frequent? Is it less intense? Is it different? Does it pass a little bit differently? Do I feel more in control of it? Okay, this is progress.
Yeah.
This is progress,
sure.
and that's a place where that patience can come up as well. And then we will notice over time less and less and less and less and less and less and less. And I also think the more that we can anchor into what is important to us, the easier that becomes, because we have something we can come back to, right? Our own self. And I think to answer the question that you asked, I think, but I mean, I honestly think for me, and this is just me sharing from my experience, what works for me, something I would share with clients. And, you know, if it doesn't resonate with somebody, it's not the way, right? There is no the way. You got to figure out, you know, what's going to work for you, like we've been saying. But I think it's dumping, like doing some sort of brain dump where it's like, what are all the things that are on your mind? What are the things that, you know, you want to do, you want to achieve? It could be within your family, professionally, personally, financially, like any goal, sexually, spiritually, like whatever is up for you. And then, you know, group, like put things together so you can maybe see like, oh, these are financial type things, these are family type things, these are things with my body, right? To kind of sort of group them together so you can see what's actually in your mind, get it out of your head and onto like a paper of some kind. And then get with somebody that you know, you love, you trust, who you know and loves and trusts you, and have them help you get clarification and specificity around the things that are vague. You might be clear in your mind the reason that we interact with somebody else, whether it is a coach or a therapist or like a friend that you know holds not just love and compassion, but advocacy for you. And
Advocacy.
clarify, right? Like clarify the timing. This to me has been really important to recognize. Is this something short term? Or is this actually a lifetime thing that I'm wanting to shift, right? Like increasing self-love or self-compassion, that's not a 1 to 3 month goal. That's this is a relationship, fundamental, foundational shift in dynamic. That's not the same as I want to write a book. That has like, you know, like this has a more limited deadline. And then ask yourself realistically, right? What's feasible? Because most of us have jobs and families and responsibilities. And as we were just talking about on the break, like sometimes life hands you a lot of stuff and it's at one time. And so don't try to change, like, my goodness, don't try to change everything at one time or have the expectation that that's even realistic for anybody. Like for I mean, even somebody, honestly, like take some famous person who's got support in every area of their life. It's not even easy for them fully supported to make these kind of changes. But if that's not you and you're out here living life, like, you know, with you and like your small nuclear family, like cut yourself some slack for sure. And then like we were talking about at the beginning, I think is what's the desired outcome? You know, why do you want this thing? If it's, let's say, to release weight or to find a partner or, you know, make X number of dollars in your business, why? Right? To connect yourself and increase the connection to that thing that it is that you want. That matters, right? Because it can be really easy to get kind of bogged down in the mud of the details and forget to kind of pick our heads up and look at why was this even something that's important in the first place.
Yeah, that's a big thing. And like we talked about in the beginning too, it's like you might have wanted it yesterday, but today it's like, you know, there's like a situation. I was really going full steam ahead with some work that it may still come to fruition, but kind of a position like you have, but I don't know if I can handle it right now with my dad. I really don't know if I can do it. And this was just something that just came in, but I guess it's coming in for a reason that maybe just now isn't the time. And that's like something that has had me pause, like, boy, I've been wanting this for so long. And now it's like, yeah, I want it, but I don't think I can do it. Like it's just not, that availability is not there. So for anyone else who might have a situation, you've been like going for it and going for it, but then it's like a roadblock comes in that maybe you're supposed to pause for a reason. Maybe you're supposed to step back for a reason. Maybe there's something else that's going to come in that's maybe that's just a little further down the line, or you're going to be doing something else in here that's going to make that even better down the line. But it's like having that surrender and that peace that, it's okay. Maybe now isn't the time, and that's okay. And rolling with that, if that makes any sense.
It makes total sense to me. What I hear in that is just you're slowing down enough to check in and recognize the messaging, right? Because it's hard to hear that stuff. We're going super fast and we're going through the check mark, right?
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, this is something that I wanted, and here, now it's it. And then sometimes I've totally done this so many times and ended up living inside of the consequences of the decision that I made, right?
Yeah.
Not that we don't have the ability to make a decision to change, but I've definitely kind of said yes without checking in. So just what you're saying is such a huge thing that you're able to assess that. And here's the other thing that I think is important also for people to know is like, it's okay to be sad about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay to feel however you feel, whether it's angry, at them for their timing, or your dad for how he has, even if it seems unrealistic, right? Like, of course, you're not mad at somebody for being ill or anything like that. But sometimes those emotions come up. And if that does happen, that's okay. Like, that's okay. That is, I've had them. That's common. You're alone. It does not in any way make you a bad person. And so if none of that happens, that's okay too. But I think it's important just to recognize that there could be a disappointment alongside of the recognition that actually it is, realistically speaking, I have X number of hours a week. This is asking for more than that. The math is not working.
Yeah. And like you're saying too about, being upset about something, I had just some news that I didn't expect. And I was so positive it would work out, expectations, so positive it would work out. And then I remember talking to my husband and he's just like, well, but you have this, this, and this. I'm like, I know, but for now, I'm going to feel sorry for myself. I'm going to be sad. I'm going to be all these things because this is a huge disappointment. And then, just kind of processing it, writing about it and all that. And the next day I'm like, I have a decision to make here. And I'm going to go with, it could still come around. It's just not going to look how I think it was going to look. And today I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. I did that yesterday. And today I can change and be like, okay, yeah, I know something better is coming, even if this wasn't it. And I was so positive, but that's all right. Something better is coming along. So it's just kind of interesting, just kind of follow our emotions and letting ourselves feel whatever is going on and then making another decision later.
Yeah. And being patient with that whole process. Like that actually is the process. And oftentimes I think what jacked me up the most was my belief that it was supposed to be different and that what I was feeling or how I was feeling wasn't correct. And so I really want to make sure that anybody that is listening is like hearing that, like, that's how it is. That's how it is for me. I think people's intensities are different. The duration of things is different. Those things are unique to us for so many reasons, but like, that's how it, like, that's how that happens. It happens, like, and it doesn't mean that there's anything other than like, oh, you had a hope there. Okay, cool. That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. I don't know. We only have a minute left, but did you, for a while, just like you'd be so disappointed that it's just like, oh, I don't know what I want to say. I guess I want to say it's almost like it's just not fair.
Mhm.
Like to just want to stay in that victim. And now, even if I kind of want to, I can't for very long. I can't, because I know something better's coming. I have to believe that. And I know it is. Yeah.
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 I think
Us
the difference
humans.
for me, for sure. And I think the difference for me is if I'm feeling that way, let it be okay. Throw a fit, be upset. Don't try to pull yourself out of it, because if you give into it and just feel it and stomp your feet and say it's not fair, it will come out, and then you will get to this place. But shaming yourself and being like, you shouldn't feel that way, everything's going to be okay. That's different. And I think that there's both there.
I agree 100%. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
I adore you, and I am so grateful you were here. Thank you. And where can everybody find you? Even though it's all right there.
Yeah, I'm online, Coach Michelle Moore on Instagram, on Facebook, and coachmichellemore.com is my blog.
Awesome. Thank you again so much. And thank you everyone for tuning in. Happy New Year, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Transformation with Martine, real, raw, and vulnerable conversations. Listen or watch live every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern on transformationtalkradio.com, as Martine and her guests have deep, meaningful conversations, sharing empowering stories. Step into your passions and lead with your heart. If you are ready to accept and love you for you, visit martineemmons.com and start allowing transformation to happen today.